What up, Entourage? Guess what? 3 days in a row, I'm in a flow. Let's go. All right. So today I want to talk about, I'm trying to keep these videos a little different. You know what I'm saying? It's called The Perfect Flex. And the reason is because if you've been with me a while, you know how much I stress the three-headed monster. Now, you might be asking, what's a three-headed monster? What I mean by the three-headed monsters, my goal, talking if we're in standard PPR leagues, 12 team or whatever, is to always have a running back at the flex position. So you got your RB1, your RB2, and your flex, which to me, I don't even look at it as a flex. To me, the flex is a RB3. But what I mean by a three-headed monster is my goal is always to try to get three top 15 backs, or at least 15 to 18 in points per game. That's always my goal. And you're probably like, Rapper, how are you going to do that? Well, because not every running back that's drafted in the first top 12 is going to be an RB1. And that always happens. I mean, who predicted Austin Eckler last year to be RB1? I don't think Aaron Jones was going as a RB1. And then you have players like David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell who flamed out. I think Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram ended up being an RB1. So there's always players that are not being drafted amongst the top 12 that end up being there at the end. So it's not that crazy to think that you can get three top 15 to 18, maybe 20 running backs. I've done it before. So that's always the goal. Now, obviously, the third running back, typically, that you draft is not going to be as good as the first two. So this video is about drafting that perfect RB3/flex. And the reason why I prefer running backs is they tend to be a little more consistent than receivers. Like running backs don't have that many off games, especially if you're a pass catching back. However, with the third running back or the flex position, those are going to be a little less consistent because let's face it, these are going to be running backs that are being drafted like in the 20s and things like that. So let's get into it, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you feel like you're getting some valuable content here, because I'm always striving to give you guys the right strategies, those hacks that are going to put you ahead of the competition. I promise you, people are not thinking like this, but this is a great way to crush your leagues. Well, enough with all that, guys. So my first running back that I would recommend getting as the perfect flex. And remember, to qualify, they have to be going outside of the top 24. Now, you could get running backs inside the top 24 as your third, depending how you draft, how the draft goes. But for all intents and purposes, these are running backs that they're not being selected as RB2s. My first one is Devin Singletary. Now, I love Zach Moss. So you might be, a little concerned or a little shocked that I put Devin Singletary. But the fact of the matter is, guys, I go by what I see on the field. And you know what I say, talent over everything. Devin Singletary is very, very talented. It seems like every time he touched the ball last year, something exciting was happening. And he was very hard to take down. He's very low to the ground. He's only 5'7", and he's not fast. I say Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks a lot like Devin Singletary. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be a little, more talented, but their games are very similar because they're short and they're more quick than fast. Devin Singletary last year averaged over 5 yards per carry, had 29 receptions in only 12 games. Now, what's stopping Devin Singletary from being like a true RB1 or RB2? It's really the touchdowns, because now they bring in Zach Moss. Zach Moss is better built to be that goal line back. You got Josh Allen, who likes to, run it in himself. So if it wasn't for the touchdowns, I'd probably say, well, he'd be getting drafted a lot higher. But now you could take advantage of people kind of fading him because of the threat of Zach Moss. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a potent offense. They got Diggs, they got John Brown. They're going to be able to spread the defense out. So I don't see Devin Singletary getting all, a truckload of carries, but that's why they're your RB3. That's why they're your flex. So he might, and the inconsistencies are built into the value. That's what I said about RB3s. These guys are going to have some big numbers at the end of the year, but the reason why I don't want them as my first or second head as part of the three-headed monster is because they're going to have their ups and downs, because he's going to have to be ultra efficient, being that I don't see him, getting that many touchdowns this year. Now, my second running back, and by the way, guys, this is in no particular order. The order is actually the way I saw it in the ADP. So, no particular order. My second one is Raheem Mostert. Now, Raheem Mostert, another guy, super, super efficient. Average 5.6 yards per carry. And let's face it, guys, whoever is going to be in the lead back in Kyle Shanahan's zone scheme, you want that guy, especially as your RB3, because that's the other thing about RB3s is RB3s, the perfect RB3 has RB1 upside on any given week, and that's Raheem Mostert. So did Devin Singletary. He was an RB1 quite a few weeks, as was Raheem Mostert. Now, the drawback, the concern is he relied a lot on touchdowns. So that's the concern, and he's not a pass catcher. And how can we really rely on the touchdown? Because, they do got Tevin Coleman. Not really worried about Jerick McKinnon, getting carries in the goal line. But, there could be some vulture goal line carries by Tevin Coleman. But at the end of the day, Raheem Mostert, he looked good. And like I said, I go by what I see. All this other stuff is hypotheticals. There's people actually still, touting that Jerick McKinnon horn. I'm like, are you nuts? This guy can't stay on the field. When he was on the field, he wasn't really that good as a runner. Yes, he's a threat as a pass catcher, but people need to get off that, seriously. So Raheem Mostert, another perfect RB3. The third guy, and this might surprise you because I'm such a big fan of Nick Chubb, obviously. So Kareem Hunt, yeah, because everybody thinks it's like all or nothing. If I love Chubb, I can't love Hunt. But I know the way today's NFL works. And, Austin Eckler last year was an RB1 and Melvin Gordon was an RB2. I keep mentioning this comparison. Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara were both RB1s. It works. Like, especially if you have a coach that's committed to running the football. You have a good offensive line, which they upgraded. They brought in two fullbacks. And, what I like about Kareem Hunt, I don't even think he's going to get that many carries. I've been hearing, them talking about possibly moving him to the wide receiver 3. Even if they don't, that's pretty much irrelevant. I think he's going to be primarily focused as being a pass catching back, kind of like a Austin Eckler. So, and in that offense, he could get 10 carries and Nick Chubb could get 20, and that's 30 carries, and you could do that all day. And if you get 10 carries, and you also get another 4 or 5 targets, that's going to definitely be enough to be a really, really solid RB3 flex with upside. Okay, so I really like Kareem Hunt because he's also very talented. He could run the football. He could catch the football. Kevin Stefanski, why not? Why not? All right. Now, my fourth running back. This guy is going to be really, really good. Perfect flex because I believe DeAndre Swift is going to have some big games. He's going to have some really big games. I get a lot of questions about him, because I've been touting Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers, and I've been talking about them more because those three actually have 3 down workhorse, whatever that means in today's NFL. They have that potential based on their physique and their skill set. I don't see DeAndre Swift having that potential. I don't think he even had more than 200 carries in college. But in today's NFL, what do you need most importantly as a running back is the ability to catch the football. And if we remember, Theo Reddick was a really good PPR running back for the Detroit Lions, you know? And DeAndre Swift, from a talent standpoint, is way better than Theo Reddick. This is like Theo Reddick on steroids. So if Theo Reddick could be an RB2, there's no reason why DeAndre Swift, even in his first year, can't do the same, especially when Detroit's Lions defense is totally trash. So they'll probably be playing from behind a lot of games and a lot of shootouts. So there'll be a lot of targets, considering that he's a running back. So I do like DeAndre Swift. But again, because he's more of a pass catcher and will probably be more dependent on game flow, the inconsistencies will be there. That's why he's got RB1 upside on any given week. But I wouldn't say he has a super low floor, but he's not going to be averaging 18 points a game. He's just not. He's just not, because like I said, he's going to be more like a receiver, more like a Eckler. He'll have to be ultra efficient. I don't see him getting a lot of touchdowns because of that. All right, number 5. Speaking of a guy I just mentioned, I love me some Cam Akers. Cam Akers is in the perfect situation. It's people that don't really watch football that disagree, because to me, it's just crazy, to be honest with you guys. Like, they're like, well, that running back, this is this is why I think it's crazy, okay? They say the backfield is crowded. Guys, I hate to break it to you. Every single team has 3 or 4 running backs. Every single one. And for some reason, people want to focus on Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. I mean, is there something I'm missing here? Like, did we not watch them play? Like, if they were so good, the Rams have some issues. They got an aging offensive line. Their defensive secondary is good, but they could use another corner. They could use some linebacker. Like, they have issues. They have issues, and they spent their second-round pick on Cam Akers. Historically, Sean McVay, last year, he said Darrell Henderson was going to be a thing. So I don't know if it's because he stunk it up, because I still think he could be a pretty good, pass catcher, but this guy just couldn't read holes. Just couldn't. Like, it was very apparent. So Gurley, even with this, is how bad Darrell Henderson is. Gurley had arthritic knees. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. They ate up a lot of money, and they still had Gurley playing 70% of the snaps with arthritic knees, and he was only a shell of himself. That's how much they love Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. Meanwhile, there was only 5 running backs in the entire NFL that got 70% of the snaps, and the Rams felt they needed to put somebody with arthritic knees because their other running backs were trash. Okay, so I don't want to hear this Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown stuff. Cam Akers has a chance to be a 3-down back. He really shouldn't even be on this list, because most people on this list are kind of like, going to be boom or bust. I think Cam Akers is going to be pretty consistent. I think he'll win the job. I think he could get 65 to 70% of snaps based on the way Sean McVay likes to use his running backs. And most importantly, he's a pass catcher. He's a pass catcher. All these guys I mentioned are pass catchers. Even Raheem Mostert, he had 14 receptions, but he did average 12.9 yards per reception. He's still capable. Wasn't really a pass catcher, but still capable. Cam Akers had 30 receptions. 30 receptions his last year in college at FSU in only 11 games. That's a lot. This guy can run routes. So, love me Cam Akers. And he really, like I said, shouldn't even belong on this list, but he is going as an RB3, so I threw him on there. But he has a chance to be an RB1 low key, high key. All right. The 6th guy, this guy might surprise you too. You see, I've been holding a couple tricks in the bag. Now, I've been feeling this guy for a while now. I haven't really talked about him a whole lot. I actually did like Ronald Jones a lot coming into the NFL, but then he looked horrible, like horrible, like almost like Darrell Henderson looked last year. He just couldn't read the holes. He couldn't catch a cold. But you know what? Last year he looked pretty good. And shout out to my man Fantasy Football Wolf because I saw this stat on his Instagram, and it said that when Ronald Jones played over 47% of the snaps, he averaged 18.4 points. That's a lot, guys. And I expect him to at least play that much. I don't think he'll be the three down back. They'll probably bring in either Keyshawn Vaughn or maybe early on LaShawn McCoy. But I have a feeling that Ronald Jones might lead the NFC in rushing touchdowns. You're not giving it to old man Shady, fumbleitis Shady in the goal line. And Bruce Arians not the type to trust rookies. So if he's going to get the goal line carries, which I no reason to believe he's not. He's even gained weight. He's worked on his hands. So he might even have that three down capability. But they did draft Keyshawn Vaughn rather high. And the talk this whole offseason was getting a pass catching back. But Ronald Jones, we'll see how much he's worked on his hands. And here's the thing. He had 30 receptions last year. A lot of people don't know that. Now, they were all on screens. They weren't really, he's not the type to run routes unless he really improved his hands. But still, Brady likes to dump the ball. Potent offense. He is going to be really, really good. Being that the goal line back in a potent offense is always solid. And you could get him all day as your RB3. That's the beauty of it. So imagine having somebody like Ronald Jones, the goal line back for potent offense. He actually has, there is a world where he has RB1 upside, believe it or not. And you can get him all day as your RB3. Now, isn't that cool? You get a Saquon or a CMC or a Kamara or a Chubb, and then you follow that up. Some people could get lucky and get a Drake and get an Eckler or get an Aaron Jones, and then you follow that up with a Ronald Jones. And in between there, you could get a receiver like Juju or, I don't know, A.J. Brown or something. Just there's some solid receivers. So that's where it's at. Three-headed monster. And that is a great three-headed monster. Now, my seventh perfect flex / RB3, this guy has got league-winning potential. Kind of like Cam Akers, where he really shouldn't be on this list, but they're drafting as an RB3, so I included him. But J.K. Dobbins, man, oh man, what is not to like about this guy? 2,000-yard rusher, pass catcher, and he's just got that drive. I can't remember if it was, maybe he lost his mom or his dad, but this kid is just serious business. He is a professional, and he is a leader, and he's going to be running behind one of the best offensive lines in football. And again, I know you're thinking Mark Ingram, I get it, but remember, this is your RB3, your flex. Mark Ingram only got 49% of the carries last year. He's getting older. He's going to be like 31. I don't see his carries increasing. Now, when they drafted a running back, a stud, in the second round, so JK off the bat will probably get 35% of the snaps. And again, because defenses are so focused on Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, this guy can be really efficient with his touches. Baltimore's also has an amazing defense. Best offense, top 2 or 3 defense. So that means they're going to be up in a lot of games. They're going to sit old man Ingram. They're going to run their rookie, see what they got. So he can get a lot of points just for them being up and them running out the clock. And that's early on. Once that weather cools, J.K. Dobbins is a potential league winner. And just like Cam Akers, he has 3-down capability and RB1 upside. It's true. It's true. I don't lie, guys. I don't exaggerate. I know you don't see it now, but again, it's talent over everything. And when talent meets opportunity, that's the perfect storm. And J.K. Dobbins, just like Jonathan Taylor, has that perfect storm. Well, guys, hope you got some valuable content out of this. Just to recap, the perfect flex, my top 7. These are the guys you should be targeting as your RB3. Devin Singletary, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, J.K. Dobbins. All 7 of those guys are going as an RB3. Quite a few of them have high RB2 upside. Well, all of them have a high RB2 upside, all of them. And then I think there's a couple in there like a J.K. Dobbins, like a Cam Akers that actually have RB1 upside. Well, guys, if you have any questions, comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube and IG at fantasyfootballrapper, Twitter at IMFFrapper. Until next time, peace. We out here.